Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast. Our podcast offers bold commentary on various subject matters with a laser-like focus on the truth. My name is Ray Tampa. I'm the host of the Ray Tampa podcast. We have in our studio with us today Mr. Russell Cato, an educator, retired educator with over 42 years of experience here in Pinellas County Schools, and Mr. Jamie Wilson, a healthcare provider with over 25 years working as a physical therapist. My co-host, my dynamic co-host. Last week, we discussed on our podcast an article that was published in July 2017 entitled $200 million Later, Why Are St. Petersburg's Poor Black Neighborhoods Worse Off? End of quote. We received lots of very strong and positive comments. Please, please, please allow me to share a few with you. Number one, and these are real people in our community from all walks of life in our community: white, black, young, old, wealthy, and less than wealthy. So here they are. First one, woo! Exclamation mark. Telling the truth at its finest. Exclamation mark. Good question. But developers and the Rays are fine. And that's all that matters. Sarcasm. Number three, I enjoyed the podcast. Number four, oh my God, this is such a good topic. Number five, good morning, my friend. How interesting. Where do we go from here? Number six, great topic, Ray. Great topic. Number seven, I love your podcast. You all speak the truth. Number eight, simply the truth. Number nine, keep up the incredible work. Keep up the incredible work. Number 10, hi, Ray. I agree with your podcast. Quote, ... You're right. Mom and pop ripping us off. All right. Keep up the good work, and thanks for me. End of quote. Number 11, love the show. I love the way you gentlemen told the unadulterated truth. You called out the South Side politicians or political cliques, or as you all said, the pimps. Where is the money for improvement and enhancement, advancement of the areas like Midtown and other areas that are predominantly Black? Where is the money? We all know that trickle down doesn't work. It's a big lie. Many of us native to this community are having to watch our kids and grandchildren leave the city and their families because they don't make a living wage. Elders are making difficult decisions about paying their utilities, property taxes, prescriptions, food, etc. Number 12, keep telling the truth, gentlemen. Keep telling the truth. We need folk like you guys who will call out loudly and boldly all the sellouts. Thank you. Number 13, it is time for real change. Number 14, This was said to me per a phone call, and the individual said, "Great show. I agree with you. I know the poverty pimps." And he reluctantly named a couple of individuals. Thanks, Ray, for a very good podcast. This person sent to me a column that she wrote on the subject a few years ago, and I have it here today. Next person, you all need to do a part 2. We certainly appreciate the many comments we receive from time to time about our podcasts. At this time, we're going to follow up on that one person's request that we do a part 2. At the end of our podcast last week, I held in my hand a rebuttal article that was written by a developer. You all may remember that I pointed out the fact that this developer said the Tampa Bay Times article was intellectually disingenuous. His words, intellectually disingenuous. For what it's worth, this developer's rebuttal article starts off by saying, quote, "The premise that the city has steered over $200 million to Midtown over the last 18 years and had not made a dent in the poverty levels is the basis for his feeling that the article was dishonest." With this statement, the developer doesn't seem to dispute the dollar amount. However, he does suggest the dollars were not directed toward resolving poverty. More importantly, or more pointedly, he suggests A, the recession caused a lot of people to lose their homes. B, Obama's administration gave the city millions of dollars to help with the housing crisis. Those dollars were used to buy up parcels of land, also known as land banking, a practice of aggregating parcels of land for future sale or development. C, half of the $200 million was spent on the failure factory schools, with very little utilization of labor from Midtown. Then he said $40 million spent on building the Job Corps facility. Again, very little Midtown labor was used. The developer offered his best guesses as to why poverty has been so stubborn in Midtown. Inadequate funding, he said, changing plans and administrations, lack of adequate planning, lack of engagement by all stakeholders. So I wanted to be fair by sharing these comments from the developer. And what we're going to do is have a discussion about what he said in terms of those $200 million. Who would like to go first?
So first of all, is he in the clique? Because he sounds, some of the things he's saying could be possible and might make sense, but is he part of the problem? Is he in the clique that's been receiving these monies and not doing? And yeah, every local government has issues like this. You know, inadequate funding, changes of administration. But that's why you have someone governing it. That's why you have the buy-in of the people. A lot of these little side deals don't include anybody but the people that's receiving the money. The same old people that's receiving the money, the same old cliques. So my question to him, this developer, is he one of them? Is he part of it? And if he knows this, why isn't he speaking out?
Good questions. Good
Yeah.
questions. Russ?
Well, let me take it back off what Jamie said. I was looking at your these adjustment of the developer, the reason here. If you're developing, you're going to make money, you're not going to be honest. These things are set up to be like this. That's what they set up to inadequate fund. That's what you want to do. In other words, what I'm saying, this is a recipe to make money to steal away from the poor. When you look at these things here, inadequate funding, they know it's going to be inadequate funding. This is nothing new. But Ray, let me get back. You mentioned a few minutes ago, how many million? 200 million?
200 million.
200, but Jamie had offered the figure of 210 million last week.
Right.
Okay, listen today.
Per that article.
Yeah, but today, Jamie, look, in the next 20 years, the city of St. Petersburg will spend $6 billion. $6 billion. Now, what I'm saying, I don't know how much federal funding coming out of $6 billion. I have no idea. But if you think about it, my thing is, who is in control of this money, Jamie?
They need some
Who
gatekeeping.
operates this thing? Who's on the board?
Mhm.
You know, when I look at the deal that was made the other day, the Ray Hines development, when I look at the Rays, and I think I told you this, Ray, I never saw where baseball was a tremendous asset for this thing.
It's
Never.
It's not.
I never saw it.
In most communities, it's not
I
an asset.
never saw it. The attendance were always low. They were always making money with low attendance, some kind of way, right?
Well, they make money because baseball as an organization, Major League Baseball, they revenue share.
Yeah.
They revenue share. So with them revenue sharing, the teams that are very productive in terms of revenue development, they share with the teams that are less productive.
That's what I'm saying.
Or less generating of funds.
So
So
that,
they're gonna make money regardless.
that's what I'm saying, going back to what James said. So that the money never reached the core of the community. That's what I'm saying. It will never reach the core. I don't care what people say, it is going to never be.
Well, I shared this comment
Yes,
with
never
the
be.
president of the Rays, Brian All. And Jamie and I used to own a restaurant and lounge,
Yeah.
which was right there on First Avenue North
By the
in
police.
11th Street.
Yeah. True. I remember.
People walking past our business, going over to Ferg's.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ferg seemed to be the only business that was really generating money
Mhm.
from baseball.
Truly.
Right.
Now, we had a great business.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say we needed them, but we certainly wouldn't mind having more of those dollars rather than
Right.
see them walk past our business.
Right.
So I told Brian All personally that there was a time where I said they can take that stadium and throw it in the bank
Truly.
because I didn't feel
No.
that it was generating money for the community. But at the same time, it's here. And you're right, Russ. We need to take a look at why did they expend so much time and effort to keep a team that was not generating money for the community.
And that's it. It does not. It only makes them money. I mean, you might employ a few people that work inside or do what for the most part, but it's not really helping the community.
But
And-
here, Jim, I'm not gonna, but here's what you got to understand. If you're going to take this parcel of land, you got to establish a reason for it. What is the reason? Redevelopment of the gas plant area. You see, you got to establish a reason, and there's a reason. But when I go back since the 70s, they've been doing this. It's 40 some years. We're still doing the same damn thing.
And our leaders, our so-called political leaders here, they just follow the status quo. They don't push back.
No.
I mean, Pastor Sykes, he gets out there and does his thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I see him more than anybody. I see him getting out there and, pushing back. But for the most of them, It's like they're bought and paid for, and they just go with
Yeah.
the status quo. We have no real leaders.
No.
I mean, yeah, Pastor Sykes and a few more that, but I mostly see him, like I'm saying.
Yeah.
But people with power that could make a difference for our community, they're not doing it. They're just doing those little side room back deals and getting their little money and keeping their mouth shut because they're bought and paid for.
Well, you know,
Speaking of Pastor
go on.
Sykes,
Go on. Mhm.
yes, he was very vocal.
Yeah.
Very vocal
Mhm.
in opposition to this raise deal.
Yeah, man.
Very vocal. Because of his opposition, the mayor tried to isolate
True.
Pastor Sykes.
That's
Yeah.
what you do.
That's what he.
That's what they do.
Remember, this is
That's
the
what you
same
do.
mayor
Hmm.
that made a statement talking about he was going to make sure that intentional equity is baked into all city decisions and policies.
Yeah.
Intentional equity. Everybody was going to be on the same playing field, he said. But then in practice, he's discriminating against people.
Hmm.
He was holding meetings of closed door meetings with people that agreed with him. He had a meeting with pastors at the police department, a meeting of pastors. I didn't know the list. I didn't see the list he invited, but I knew who was not invited. I knew who was not invited.
That's a Trump move.
That's a Trump move. That's a DeSantis move.
Hmm.
But at any rate, let's move on.
Before
Go
you
ahead.
move, Ray, here's what I hope the audience will go back, because you did an excellent job last week. Go back and take that mental travel again.
Mhm.
That's all you need to do. Just go back, and if you can come back with that again, I appreciate it.
Well,
Because
I'm going to do that right
yeah,
now, because as we took that drive,
yeah,
we
go
must have
back.
been speeding. We must have been speeding because we missed a few things.
Okay.
And I'm gonna share, trying to make sure we're honest and all on board or above board. During our mental drive through
Yeah.
the Black community last week, we missed a few things that I want to recognize at this time. Like when I said, let's take that drive, 22nd Avenue. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right there, 22nd Avenue and Dr. Martin Luther King.
Mhm.
There was a Walgreens there that we didn't mention,
Mhm.
and it's defunct,
That's right.
but we missed it.
Okay.
22nd Avenue and 13th Street. Doug Jameson campus of St. Petersburg College there. Very important. Education. 22nd Avenue, 34th Street. The shopping center is not new, very old, but the city's health equity facility is there.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the gang members are entrenched there too.
Mm.
Sadly, and most unfortunately, well, this particular facility is not in the Black community. I'll leave it alone for right now. Okay, we can say going across the street from Lake Magori, brand new apartments. Lake Magori Apartments, huge apartment complex. We missed that one. 18th Avenue, 16th Street, Salem Seafood Restaurant. We missed it. Speeding. So I wanted to come back and throw these businesses or educational institutions into the conversation. But we can ask, have they, these new businesses, help make a dent into the poverty issue? Have they?
Well, apartments are popping up everywhere, and a lot of them are not affordable. So unless they do some regulation to make that, or make a certain percentage of it HUD, you know what I mean? Like they did that in the past with like some of these apartment complexes off of 54th South. It was a certain percentage that were considered HUD, so that would help out. But I don't know that to be happening, or if, I don't know if that is something going on, because a lot of times these are like out of state developers, and they're out to get their cash. And how they get it built so quick.
They do
I mean,
go quick.
it's homes out there, residential homes in the hood that's taking 5 or 6 months to build. They are building
That's right.
gargantuan communities,
Sure.
apartment communities,
Sure.
and like boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet these people here are waiting on permits and this and that and the other. Everything is slow motion. 4 months, what should take 4 months to do a home is 6, 7, 8 months. It's ridiculous. And these things are popping up, moving in.
Well, that's what I'm telling you, Jamie, is who's in charge.
Right.
You know, when I look at,
Reason.
and Ray, you may have to explain this because I don't. When I look at the Ray Hine, okay, that was approved, you know, okay. Now I look at this group called the CBAC. That's the community-based counseling or something like that. You should know. I don't know too much about it. So my concern is when I look at the Ray Hine, then I'm trying to find out who's in this CBAC.
Community benefits
Yeah.
agreement.
Now, I
That's
don't know
what you're
nothing
talking
about that. Yeah.
And that particular committee,
I have no idea what this
some of the members appointed by city council members.
Okay.
The mayor get to select a person on that committee
Okay.
as well. And they were put together for the most part to take a look at the finances in the community. They wanted to, make sure that the community was going to benefit from this raise deal.
Okay.
And they made some recommendations
Okay.
based on some issues with the raised development deal, but their recommendations were ignored. Ignored. So I want to suggest something here. I did indicate that someone sent me another article. After seeing our podcast, this individual sent us an article that she had written.
Okay.
And I want to make note that her article is similar to the one that the developer wrote, similar in part, not to the developer, because no, not the developer. Her article was very similar to the one written by the Tampa Bay Times reporter about the $200 million and why is this community still suffering from poverty. And her name is Sammy Scott. She's the writer of this article. Sammy Scott. Yeah, Sammy, if I had to identify the one person who should be in the Hall of Fame for community advocates, Sammy Scott would be my pick to be in the Hall of Fame. Sammy would say what needs to be said to whomever needed to hear it. She didn't care what their position in life was. Could have been the president of the Rays. It could have been just an ordinary guy on the streets. It could have been the chief of the police department. Sammy was the one, had no fear of saying what needed to be said. And she was always out there. But Sammy wrote an article, and the article was entitled, "As We All Rise to Give a Helping Hand to Residents in South St. Petersburg, Let's Not Fall Prey to Those So-Called Leaders Who Benefit Financially and Politically from Their Own Communities' Suffering." That was her title. Let's not fall prey to those so-called leaders who benefit financially and politically from their own community's suffering.
She said that.
As stakeholders, she continued, we must take full responsibility for our actions and demand accountability from all. Demand accountability. Who among us can afford to be silent? Let's all make some noise, she said. That's powerful. She said we cannot remain silent. We must speak out. And she knew who those poverty pimps were. As a matter of fact, Sammy was the first person that used the words poverty pimp
Sure.
years ago. This article she wrote, take note of it. This was back in 2010.
Yeah.
2010.
Doing it good.
Yeah. So now the question is, from her 2010 article to the 2017 article and to today's date, what has changed?
Not much.
Not
What
much.
has
It's the
changed?
same people doing the
Not
same
much.
things because, I mean, that's why it's good to speak out like we're doing, like the people that made the comments are doing. People are speaking out because you're tired of it. When you find that 200 million has been given to
Yeah.
the city and then you say it's going to be more, Russ, like,
Yeah, 6
I
billion.
mean,
over
we
20.
need this. We need some gatekeepers for this money to find out where it's going.
We do need to identify some new people in our community that will assume the roles of what you're saying, gatekeepers of the resources,
Mhm.
and people that are going to be fair.
Right, impartial.
People are not trying to pocket money.
Right.
People are not trying to build generational wealth off the backs of
Yeah.
poor. People who are not running around here saying, I got to get mine first. Stupidity.
Well, let me say this, and I'm
Black
glad
power.
that you brought Sammy Scott in here because when I go to work sometime, what people always say to me, what do you guys have against the mayor? They tell me that. And I'm so glad that what Tampa has read about this thing is political correctness.
Yes.
That's what this show is all about.
yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that you
It's
mentioned
nothing
that.
against the mayor.
None.
It's we're just calling out.
That's
it's not
what we're
right.
doing.
I voted for him.
I voted for him.
Most
too.
of it, everybody in
Yes,
this room
sir.
voted for him.
Okay, well,
And I still hope he does right. I
Yeah.
still hope he gets it right.
I'm gonna read this.
But I
Sammy
ain't gonna
Scott.
sit silent.
No.
I got a
Yeah.
voice now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking.
my God, I
Sammy
would love to
Scott.
have a conversation with the individual that asked that question. What do we have against the mayor?
Yeah,
What we have against the mayor is accountability.
that's right.
Mhm.
Political correct.
We are trying to hold the mayor and so many others accountable. Because if they continue doing the stupid things they're doing and nobody's saying anything, nobody is suggesting anything, then what's the
boy.
use? What's the use?
Things has to change, and the so-called leaders that are filling their pockets and making, all they're doing is they get these opportunities and they share it amongst each other. And that includes preachers too. That includes some of these preachers because they're in on some of these developments, what's going on. So we know who you are. All you got to do is change. That's all you got to do is change. You want to holler hallelujah and all that instead of doing the devil's work.
Well, Ray in his article mentioned a few minutes ago, Southside politicians. My concern is, and I want the people, who are these Southside politicians?
Pimps.
That's what we got
You
to
know,
understand.
I
Who are these Southside?
have been
A few
associated.
preachers, not all.
No.
There's a few in that mix.
I've been associated with these politicians.
Yeah.
for years.
Because I'm not.
If you go through the list of people in
Yeah.
political office
Because I don't
now or in the past,
know. Okay.
I have been associated with these individuals.
Because I don't know, Ray.
But I do know that there's some things that need to be said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem saying those things.
I love it.
What it is, accountability, no matter who it is, has to be the order of the day.
Yeah.
Because if they do and say things that just don't make sense and nobody speak up about it, then we're not holding them accountable.
Right.
But
And new generations of these type of individuals, political individuals, are born. Then it's like it's the same. They're learning it from the old, just like with that little puppy stuff. Whoever got to him, he's just spreading it and doing it to everybody else. It's the same with this. It's the same. The younger politicians, they're gonna learn from the bad characteristics from the old ones, and they're just gonna keep doing it. It's not gonna change. We got to push back.
well, what I want to say, Russ, since you said you're going to go back and take a look at Sammy's article,
Yeah, I got to.
I will say that her article was written
That's right.
October 2010.
Okay.
October 2010.
October 20.
Yes, 2010.
Yeah.
And her article clearly detailed issues of grave concern in our community.
Mm.
She questioned the accountability factor for a lot of the stakeholders in the community.
Sam is
One sentence in particular, she asked, where's the accounting for millions of dollars in
Yeah.
grants and public and private donations to not-for-profit organizations
I got to read.
supposedly used to address the social ills in our community? With that being said, I want to thank my two co-hosts for another dynamic podcast. They always do a great job here. We want to thank the listening audience for tuning in to the Ray Tampa podcast on 99.1 FM The Bird, and ask that you continue doing so each and every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. We also invite you to go to YouTube, type in the Ray Tampa podcast, and you can see them all. And with that being said, good evening.